right. Hey, everybody. I hope everyone is having a good night, has had a restful week. This is fun. This is going to be a fun night. We got some friends here, and we're going to have a good, long talk. For those that don't know, I'm BD. I was one of the producers for the SGDQ KAIZO race. Yeah, I think that was the official name of it. KAIZO relay race. And we have a lot of friends here that worked on it or raced it. And we're going to take some time tonight. We're just going to step through things, kind of walk through the process, do a bit of Q&A with people, but also just get some insight from people that were on sort of all sides of the process from the very beginning to racing it last week. And while we do, I want to show you that we've got a lot of people here. We've got a lot of friends here, and it's kind of hard to see in at least where I've got it pushing right now. So I'm going to move this to the other side of the screen real quick down here at the bottom. Make that a little smaller, but yeah, we have a lot of friends here. So I think we could just shout out everyone who's here, starting with the producers. So Fenn's here.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. Fenn's also going to be driving the gameplay that we go through tonight. And we've got D4. D's here.
Hello.
Hey. And then in terms of the makers that are joining us today, we have D, but we also have Heroes here. Hiro-sofT.
Hello, everybody.
It's much later for Hiro than it is for everyone else right now, so we're very grateful that Hiro could be here. And also with us is LightAligns is here.
Hello.
Hey. And then sort of in between the creation and the Razer process, we have someone who came in very clutch for us as a constructor and as a graphics helper. Circle Friendos here, everybody.
Everyone.
And then we have a few racers here also just to kind of give their perspective because they had a lot to do with this as well. Glitch is here, ahead of tonight's race.
What up?
What up? Java's here.
Hello.
Hello. And Mark's here.
Hi. I didn't make this.
You raced it though.
You made
You made part of
something
it.
for this.
We did race. We did in fact race some of this, Mark and Glitch.
That's true.
All right. So we're all, a lot of us are in chat just kind of checking out. If people have questions, throw them at us. We're happy now that we're through this process. We are very happy to sort of talk about some of the thought processes that went behind it, go behind the scenes, do a little bit of reminiscing, even though it's only been a week. But yeah, first off, we want to say thanks because this relay raised over $63,000 for Doctors Without Borders. And ultimately, that's the biggest takeaway from this whole process is it was great. We all had fun. The levels were amazing. The racing was amazing, but we raised a whole bunch of money for charity. And ultimately, that's the biggest thing to take away from all of this. So thank you all for helping contribute to make this what it was and help to make this such an impactful part of the marathon. One thing I can say, and the racers and the producers can kind of speak to this as well. GDQ staff was basically telling us all week, yo, you're the headliner. Like, you're the race that people are going to be looking forward to the most and that the most people are going to be there. Which, a bit intimidating.
No panic. Everything is fine.
I don't know if anybody got a chance
No
to look at some of the photos, but the live chat was cool. The room in there, as far as I've seen from the photos, was like packed. That was like capacity crowd.
Garmbreak put it. Yeah, Garm put it best when Garm said that 8 KAIZO players are roughly as popular as a single dog. That was roughly the equivalency we were working with.
Yeah, there was also so much done for it as well, like all the lightning and all the setup. Like there was like light being positioned in the colors of the teams. Like that was something that I saw just pointing out. It was I didn't even notice that until he pointed it out. I was like, oh my god.
GDQ staff was absolutely amazing, like from top to bottom. And they went way out of their way to really help us out and really make the relay something bigger and better. I think one of the things that like was very early on, and it's the little things like putting the team logos on the overlay. We'd never had that before. We've never had the overlay go that hard in terms of our theming. Like, Borgyman made those logos, and GDQ used them on the main stage. Used them on the big, like, screen. Like, literally, you could look up, see the giant projector, and there's Borgy's art integrated with the rest of the marathon.
Even
They put this on the schedule, too.
Page.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That schedule page looked awesome with the logos and how everything was like sorted. And that you had a button where you could see either the creators as well as Borgyman himself, like on a specific artist part there, that he was even credited as an artist, which I think hasn't been done before as well.
It's never been done before. We'd never had something of that level in terms of integration with the marathon itself. We had people coming up asking us if GDQ had put this on, and we were just doing this for GDQ. No, they went out of their way to make room for us.
Oh, just a quick test. Is my mic doing that low voice thing
Not
again?
anymore.
'Cause-
No, you're good now.
Okay.
Not anymore.
Okay, just checking.
It's
sorry.
fine now. Yeah.
And then a big thing though, Glitch, just as an FYI, I think there's a little bit of an echo, so I think you'll want to mute your mic when you're not chatting. But otherwise, it sounds like it's good now.
Yeah, I think we're good. So, Don, where did the idea to make a mixtape come from? We decided a couple months ago, because we needed a theme for Borgy to get working on art, we decided to kind of go with this idea of sort of lo-fi. The joke was easy, Kaizo beats to run quick to. And then from there, it kind of evolved into the idea of a mixtape. For a couple reasons. One, it lets us say something that isn't ROM hack, but isn't like fan game. What you hear about GDQ not wanting people to say ROM hack might be a little over-exaggerated, but there's definitely truth to it. And so having something else that we can say, and having something that lets us be accurate about what we created without crossing wires too much, it just worked really well. And then it worked in with the theming and with the levels and the colors. Everything just kind of came together really well. And I do want to give a shout out to Don Waffle in chat, who was the Spanish restreamer for the relay race for the Spanish GDQ restream. It's really cool to have community members throughout the entire GDQ process from beginning to end. We had community people obviously on stage, on the couch, but we had basically the whole front third base of the crowd was us. But on top of that, we had Court, who is a community member, as the host. So the entire thing from top to bottom was our community. And it was a really cool, really meaningful part of the whole thing for me. And I want to speak for the rest of the producers, but like, it was very gratifying to see how much trust GDQ was putting in us. Like, no, Fane and D, we were there literally like, what? It was the last day of SGDQ 2023 where we started this, right?
Yeah, sounds about right. I know that we got through the marathon and we're like, yeah, let's do a relay race. That sounds like a really awesome idea. Follow up to 2022.
So I was there, Fane was there, D was there, and Fawful was there. Fawful will hopefully be joining us in a bit. we just started sketching out ideas. We started sketching out some of the people we wanted to ask to race, some of the people we want to ask to make, a timeline, and we made some promises to ourselves. First off, we promised to not have 2022 happen to us again, which, if you don't know that backstory, the relay hack for 2022 wasn't done until within the hour before the race. And the week leading up to the race at GDQ was some incredibly stressful and unhealthy crunch to try and get it ready. We made some very strong promises that we would not let that happen to us or anyone else again. But we also kind of wanted to set the bar high in terms of working with GDQ, in terms of showing other communities what this kind of thing can look like, but how much effort is required in order to make it happen. So that was always kind of a goal for us going forward, and it wasn't perfect, but I mean, Fane and D, we basically pulled it off. I don't want to speak for how much your workloads were, but compared to 2 years ago, I think we did a little bit better this time.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot better, at least on my side.
Most of the crunch that I did was totally on my team's part, so yeah.
I mean, it paid
But
off. Your level turned out amazing.
Yeah, more about that later.
Yeah, going into the start of GDQ, I think we were basically done, except searching out a couple of little bugs and wrapping up Dan and my crazy level. So,
and also
that felt a lot.
fine-tuning other levels as well. Like with my level, for instance, it was like making it more performance-like, because one of the big problems was its performance. But again, more to that later.
So, throw questions at us in chat if you want. If there's any specific things about overarching process, I guess Hiro and Light, you can kind of speak to this too, because Light, I think you were the first people. You and Sailor were the first people to get a draft to us, and I think that was around. Was that like early this year, or was that late 2023?
I want to say that we sent the draft in like early January, and then we sent close to final, well, not final level, but like the testing version, like late January or February.
I'm pretty sure it was February, because I'm going through my old logs with Why Not, my team partner, and he was basically telling me we should try to solidify some ideas because February 9th is getting closer. I was like, February 9th is for the other project I was working on at that time. And he's like, nah, man, this is for SGDQ. And I'm like, well, I thought that was in April. So, yeah.
I think we all had that moment in like early this year where we realized, oh, we should probably start moving on this, because we did a lot of prep work in around like the October-November timeframe, and then we all just kind of agreed that we had done a good job, and then time passed without us realizing it. And I think from there,
time was flying. Yeah. One of the big problems with my level in general was like, we had like stuff going, and then it's like we are on a good track, and then I'm looking at the time and the date, and I'm like, we are kind of a little bit behind.
We'll get to that.
That's the problem. Yeah, we'll
get to that in a bit when we get to your specific level. But I guess Glitch and Mark, from your end of it, we put out feelers for y'all. I forget when, but it was around the same time. It was pretty early in the year, if I remember right.
I think it was right after, because I did Luminescent at AGDQ, and before submissions for SGDQ came around, I think you had reached out about that.
Yeah,
so that would have been like late January.
Yeah, I think we timed it specifically so that we weren't asking you and others like right when GDQ was happening.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get that out of the way and then just be like, hey, you want to come race an awesome race?
So that's kind of the prep work. We've been working on this since we started working on the relay literally the end of SGDQ 2023 and worked on it at least a little bit every day until the end of SGDQ 2024. And we're not done yet, but more on that later. But right now, first off, shout outs to Margot for the title screen and the credits background. Margot did a lot of ancillary art. The title screen, the overworld you're about to see was a Margot overworld. Margot really helped out in addition to the levels she made, putting together some stuff for sort of the title screen, the credits scene, and then everything kind of in between. What was GDQ's staff reception or impression? Oh, they loved it. they loved it. All the reactions we got backstage were just like standing ovation level applause from everybody. Both because we raised a bunch of money, but also just because the race itself was that entertaining. So staff loved it. And they didn't have to be so nervous about it. So yeah, Fane, if you want to go to the overworld, we can talk about sort of how we... So here's
which team?
I think we could go Team Goombas here for just for a start.
Woo, Goombas!
Go Goombas!
So this is a Margot overworld. Yes, the RHR amp at the top is a reference to the Nintendo Presents song, which I will be submitting to SMW Central probably a bit later because other people should have that too.
Can you say what that is?
Oh yeah, it's the Winamp startup noise. If you don't know, Winamp is, well, you're probably much younger than me, but Winamp was basically the iTunes before iTunes, almost. It was a media player that also had things like this visualization box you see, and other just really over, like things that we take for granted now in media players that weren't exactly around in like the 2000s and 2010s. So Winamp was, yeah, and it's still available if you want to go get it, and it still has that intro sound. It's been using that intro sound for 20 years, and we figured since this is sort of a throwback to that era of playlists and sharing mixtapes with people, we wanted to at least reference sort of that aesthetic, if you will.
So when I was like testing stuff and like play testing versions are being were distributed to see like if something is how stuff works out for me and stuff like that in my level and stuff. When I was booting it up and I heard that song, I immediately knew what it was.
You either know
I'm old.
Yeah. No, you either know exactly what it was instantly or you've never heard it before in your life. Like there's no in between.
Yeah, when I loaded the first test version that had that, it gave me a good laugh. Immediately transported me back in time.
See, it's really funny the first time you hear it, but when you're working on it in the practice room and you have to reset over and over again, hearing it every single time you reset, it does get old. I will say that. I'm the one that made it, and I will admit it does kind of get old.
At least it's not the PlayStation 1 boot up noise.
That's true.
Yeah. It got a little old, but you know what? It's for a good cause. It's for charity.
Yeah, and we also knew no one on GDQ stage would hear it, so we could get away with it.
Yeah.
So we've got some levels here. I'm going to be referring to the dress rehearsal team a lot throughout this sort of the talk, and to kind of give you an idea who that is so that I don't have to say their names every so often. The day before the relay, we did a dry run with 4 people that had never seen any of the levels before. It was Mr. Mighty Mouse, Baba Yaga, Skaggs, and the Little Hylian. And we roped them into a practice room, and they did the full musical chairs and everything. And they kind of helped us finalize what the level order ended up being. Which I know a lot of people have opinions, and like it's any mixtape. Like level order is important, but it's also kind of subjective. We kind of had two distinct points we wanted to hit with the level order, and that is that D and Dan's level would be 4th, and Hiro and Wynut's level would be last. There's a reason for each. Going back to the very first one of these in 2019, the midpoint level for each of the relays has sort of been the like, you're about to see some things level. That was D's original level, which featured the RNG sort of column smashing and the room rotation in 2019. And it was everyone's first introduction to sprite stacks in SMW, fun fact, or at least in a non-troll setting. 2022, the midpoint level was Furpy's level, Mode 7 level. Very famous level by now, but it served as sort of that midpoint that like, we're 3 levels in, let's do something that's going to absolutely change and shake the whole thing up. So that's why we... Sorry, go ahead, Hiro.
Yeah. It's kind of funny to think that we thought back then that nothing will beat this Mode 7 level. Like, that a lot of people thought it cannot be topped. And here we are with this SGDQ's level.
If we could only go back 2 years and be like, oh, you think this is cool? You think this is... Yeah, we should have used Mode 8. That's a good point. So that was why we put D and Dan's level 4th. We put Hiro and Wynut's level last for one very simple reason. It has a boss fight. It was the only level that had a boss fight, and we wanted to end the race with a boss. 2019's race ended with a Reznor fight that Valdio made. 2022's race ended with the King Konga fight that D made. We wanted to end with a boss fight. We thought that was the most appropriate. We think it gives the most like climax and conclusion. And I think we were just set into like, we wanted to end with the boss fight. So that was the biggest reason why Hiro and Wynut's level was the sort of the closer, and D and Dan's level was the midpoint. But let's get into it and let's start looking at some of these. So let's talk about Light and Sayla's level. So while we're talking about it, Fen, if you want to just go ahead and give it a playthrough so that people can see what we're talking about.
Yep, will do. Let's do that.
So this is one and the same. This was not the opener up until about 48 hours before the race. This was the last level order change we made, which is to put Light and Sayla's level first. So that was something the dress rehearsal team told us. Was like, no, we think this is the best level to start with. And y'all, by the way, just to throw it out there, Thane is absolutely cracked at all these levels because they've played it probably more times than anyone should have at this point.
As you say that.
Hey, it happens.
Where did I hear that before?
So, Light, do you want to kind of talk about your and Sayla's thought process behind this and why you decided to use this to make a race level?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess first I just look back at when we started talking, and it was mid-October when we first got an invite to do this. So working on it from then until, middle of January is kind of how much we put into it, and then tweaking afterwards. And I can only speak for myself, not directly for Sayla, but we're both kind of like obsessive people when we're working towards a goal. So we worked on it pretty much every single day and passed things back and forth. But the idea behind it was, when we first started brainstorming, we wanted a gimmick that would be hopefully immediately understandable for the racers to see what's happening, like using the meter to count down, and then having the opening screen to show just the idea of how you can go back and forth, make sure that you die quickly, if you mess up, things like that. So we wanted it to be very noticeable for people to understand what the gimmick was, without having to explain it too much. And then hopefully the people who were watching would pick up on it pretty quickly as well. And going through the design of it as well, like anytime we thought there might need to be an indicator, instead of putting an indicator, we tried to just change the setup so it wasn't required. We just wanted to try and be as clear as possible, but still be a little puzzly in aspects at the same time, which is kind of a difficult balance to strike, especially working within the constraints that we had for the race. But we're pretty happy with what we came up with.
So, Glitch and Mark, now that you're kind of looking at it again, what was this like for you as the lead off race, as like this is how we're going to kick things off?
Real quick before I answer that, you mentioned that this was a last minute change as being the first level. What was the original first level?
At the time when this change was made, Fire's level was the first level.
Okay. Gotcha.
And this would have been the second level. Gotcha.
I definitely think that was a good move, because, like Fire's this is kind of going ahead, like Fire's level not being able to jump, that would have been a really crazy way to start off. It's like, alright, well, it's no longer running and jumping. But anyway, this level, I thought this was an awesome opener. Like, the first thing that came to mind was the fact that it's already, like, very chocolate, and that's probably going to be the case going for the rest of the levels as well, because I had heard, like, oh, like, practice Toho, and starting off with, like, instant teleporting with, like, this, I think this is a really cool gimmick. It's not, like, super hard to understand. I mean, obviously it took a little bit of figuring out, but, starting off with this was like, okay, we're already jumping into things. There's not really, like, gonna be a build-up like we had seen in 2019, for example, where the first level was, like, very, very vanilla, and it kind of stayed that way and gradually got more custom. And I mean, 2022 is a bit more custom, but I think there was still a lot of vanilla in it. So.
And real quick, and I guess Glitch and Java, you can talk about this. You may have seen we've got the clear video going, and you may have seen Fail, like, do some what looked like just some, like, chord manipulation for a little bit. Can y'all talk about what actually happened to Fail during this level?
I'll jump in on that one, because I was the one having to kind of manage it a little bit. So what had happened is, if you actually go to the beginning of the recording, you don't have to do that, but at the beginning of, like, this relay run, you can see that, like, his movement's a little bit weird at the beginning, and for some reason it seemed like the inputs for him were definitely not, like, reading properly. And for perspective, he runs on a Brooks adapter that plugs into, like, an Xbox controller, which I didn't know, which is really cool. And for some reason, you know, we did play testing with it, like with the multi-tab, and it just didn't want to work. So in the middle of the relay, you'll kind of see me, like, unplugging and replugging it in for him, and then he tries it again and it doesn't work. So what had happened is, you know, we tested it the other day, seemed like it was working fine, stopped working right at the 11th hour, and so he ended up needing to swap out his controllers. So it was something that kind of definitely is not a great thing to do on the fly, but yeah, he ended up having to just kind of swap to a Super Famicom controller, basically, that he had as backup, just in case. So that was the main story for Fail there.
Yeah, so if you didn't hear, Fail ran 95% of the relay on a backup controller. Probably more.
I spoke to Fail very briefly after the relay, and I think that he said that the inputs were just extremely delayed. So it wasn't, like, necessarily, like, the wrong input, it was just happening far after the fact. And during, I think he said that during testing, like, the day prior, like, it was fine, and then it just didn't work during the relay.
Let's go bonus game. Let's see what happens. Yeah, we didn't take the bonus game out, so I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen here.
Let's go.
Oh, you absolute gamer.
Wow, look
Oh
at
my
that.
god.
Nice.
Nintendo Power Strats.
All right, moment of truth. Hey, what do you know?
All right, well that answers that. I'm not taking
The
that.
fact that doesn't break is crazy.
I need to go modify that now for the upcoming extended cut.
Yeah. Go ahead,
And
Joe.
I'm just gonna jump in real quick for Glitch, and I don't know. I won't speak for Glitch, but for track 1, I'll just echo what Mark said. I think it was a perfect way. It was I think in terms of mixtapes and like music in general, it was a very strong opener, and you kind of need a good strong opener to kind of set the tone for the relay. And I think LightAligns and Sayla did a really great job setting, I think, a perfect tone. I think you want to be able to jump in and know you're like what you're kind of almost prepping for mentally. And it was my first relay. I didn't know what to expect, and jumping in, and it definitely set a tone of, oh geez, we're in for a little bit of a wild ride in a good way, but definitely was a wild ride.
Yeah, I think something actually to note about that. I mean, I agree. Great opener, really good stuff. The timer on that, the fuse sort of for when you're going to switch sides, faster than it seems. That is, you really kind of have to optimize your movements in some of those sections, and I think both teams kind of lost some lives just from like realizing what to do, but realizing it too late, and not being able to actually, I have to run over there, and then not making it because of that small amount of hesitation. That was like a more optimized set of movement than it might seem.
Yeah, so that's track 1. And just in order to keep things moving, we're going to move on, but LightAligns, Sayla, phenomenal job. Thank you. Do you want to give a preview on... Oh, yeah. Do you want to give a bit of a preview on what might be coming in the extended release?
Yeah, we have another section that kind of builds off of this concept. So, again, it was designed with the idea of the relay in mind, so not super difficult. Should be more of the same, and hopefully people enjoy it. But yeah, I would just really like to say thank you for having us contribute to this. It was amazing to even be considered at all, and I would also like to say thank you to everyone that I met. I was fortunate enough to go out there and meet a number of people, and everyone was not only wonderful to me, but also wonderful to my son who was coming with me. So can't thank you all enough.
LightAligns, I will always remember the conversations with your son in the practice room about Geometry Dash. That will be a memory I take with me for quite some time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a true pleasure to meet you at GDQ. I'm glad you came out.
Pleasure.
Yeah, same. I want to say too to that like not necessarily a bad thing that the movement was optimized, just that I don't know if that necessarily comes through for the audience necessarily. Like, that fuse is faster than it seems, and that's just not a bad thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely understood.
All right, so track 2. This was the original. This was for a while. We went back and forth on stuff, but Fire's level was originally batting leadoff, in part because of what sort of Java mentioned, and I think actually Mark mentioned about starting vanilla and ramping up. In terms of levels of chocolate, there are no real vanilla levels in this hack, but arguably Fire's level might be the closest, at least visually. So that was kind of why it was further up the playlist, so to speak. We also wanted to keep it away from Blagon's level in the order, because we felt those two are similar enough both in style, but also the type of structure of the level is very similar. So we wanted to keep them kind of apart, put one inside A and the other inside B. But yeah, Fen, if you want to go ahead and give this one a start so we can talk a little bit more about it.
Will do. So first off, going left, very Fire move. Just want to call that out.
This is I believe, I think it was in testing that Schema Tuna said this is one of the Fire levels of all time. And it really is. That up throw, by the way, I had never seen anyone do the side throw off the wall until Beast did it on stage, and now I feel like I see everyone doing it. But
That's my strat.
Yeah. Well, and in fairness, I saw you play it more than anyone else, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't jump unless the P-switch is active. Important to note, we made sure... So we actually had to go get our own speakers for this. Long story behind why that's the case, but ultimately, GDQ allowed us to say, bring your own speaker... Oh, look out. Yeah. GDQ allowed us to bring our own speakers so that we could get the racers to hear game audio, because in this level specifically, if you don't hear that P-switch timer, things are real bad.
It's kind of funny that you mention it, because I have seen people talk about it and say, like, do they even hear noises? And I have seen people say, no, they didn't. For some reason. Like, they just said, yeah, they did not hear anything. It's like, no. Like, people spreading misinformation once again.
To speak on that, we were able to hear the game audio and each other just fine. We were not able to hear anything other than that. Like the donations, for example, the commentary, we could barely hear. We weren't able to parse it, at least. So, but game audio was perfectly fine.
Yeah. But what I was saying was specifically the P-switch noise, because somebody actually mentioned it, like, did they even hear the P-switch noises? And then somebody just said no. I was kind of confused when I read that, so...
Yeah.
But
we were
again,
absolutely...
some people
At least
are just clueless. Some people are just clueless.
I mean, I was personally able to hear it just fine, so... And if I wasn't, I would have definitely mentioned it, but...
Yeah.
it was perfect.
Yeah, there's one trick in particular that you really need to hear it. I'm trying to get back there and playing absolutely abysmally, but...
Yoshi elevator.
Yeah.
Yep.
This. Timing this is hard enough, because you have to do it right at the end and get a full jump. But like, if you don't hear the jingle, you're not going to do this trick.
Yeah, or at least with any amount of consistency. It's just, you need that jingle.
Glitch, I know you've been trying to hop in with something. Yeah, by the way, that you just got to run and slide at that. No, go ahead, Java, sorry.
No, you're good. It might have been me hopping in and out. The one thing I'll also just add with this level, and it's kind of my final comment on it, is when we were starting out, like during the week on Wednesday, we were given kind of some comments of like, we need to make sure we're thinking a lot more about these levels. Execution might be, a little bit lower than actually the complexity for these levels. And, with LightAligns and Halo's level, there was a little bit of complexity, but, you could read it pretty easily. Fire's level was definitely the first one that I think we all ran into and went, oh, this is where, this is where we need to start thinking. So I think, giving a shout out to literally all the other racers, because I think, what you probably didn't see during the relay was a lot of us really having to chat about the level itself and know what to do. And so if, you look at certain people, you can realize, during the relay, you see them chatting about the experience of, the level and what to do. And there's a lot of people, all of us, were really trying to collaborate more than anything. And, you don't really see that as well in the gameplay, but in the, when you're looking at the relay itself, you can see people really, you see all of our team just chatting about it. And this was definitely the level that we really realized we had to start really communicating, or else we were going to be in trouble. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that.
Yeah, one moment for that in particular, repositioning the blue shell. It was kind of tricky that it was a blue colored shell in the first place, because I think I or someone else tried to just grab it and fly, which of course isn't the thing. But when you bop that blue shell after hitting it, it's weirdly to the right of where you want to bounce up, and that was a point of communication that you can reposition it.
during testing, we also found that that people were like half of the people were doing that and half the people weren't, and it was an interesting it was something that I personally hope people would be communicating about. So I'm glad to hear that.
You can see like people pointing at things and stuff. Like at certain points, you see like down in the cameras where the teams are being shown, like people like leaning over to other people, listening and pointing at the screen and stuff. That happens quite a few times.
Yeah, this is the third relay I've worked on, and it's the first one where I would say that the levels are easier in groups of 4 than they are by themselves. Because when you have, like, to that point about like the blue shell, if you're just by yourself and you're throwing yourself against that setup over and over again without necessarily seeing it, it's gonna A, be frustrating, but B, it's gonna waste a lot of time. If you've got 3 other people also looking at it and contributing their perspective and their ideas to it, it makes that aspect of it much quicker. And so like when we were doing testing times and stuff, it was kind of hard to judge. It's like, okay, is this level in a good place? Because this person beat it by themselves in this amount of time. How is that going to translate to a team of 4 all working together to beat it?
Yeah, and the other thing about these levels, as contrasted with the 2019 and 2022 levels, these are the first levels for a Kaizo relay that were designed around the 3 life rotation, which makes a huge difference in like the level of difficulty and complexity that we can get away with.
Yeah, the 3 life change was actually done midweek in 2022. You can thank Juz and Carl for that. Juz and Carl wanted to do the 2022 relay with 1 life rotations, and then did the race with 3, and they were like, what were we thinking? 3 is so much better than 1.
Yeah, as I was just going to say, as someone who I was in the 2019 relay, switching controller every death was murderous on the legs. I was like, it was like a workout. Like, it was really a lot of physical exertion to do that. This time, not at all.
Especially like in levels where you die so many times so quickly, I can imagine that being extremely painful.
Well, like, think about that runoff at the very beginning of Fire's level where no one knows you can't jump. Like, how many rotations would it take in order for the team to realize, oh, we have to just run off left, hold, like, re-grab while running off left, but let go of run in order to stomp on the P switch and not just grab it. Like, how many rotations, how many lives would that have taken if you didn't have 3 lives to rotate? So, like, designing levels with a 3 life rotation in mind is very different than designing levels with a 1 life rotation in mind. The other thing is that I forget who brought this. I think, Mark, you're the one that brought this to my attention. The 2019 relay had 7-minute time caps.
Yeah, because the relay for 2019 was an hour total. Like, it was a very short relay. So, and I mean, that relay also had like one-shots in it. Like, because it was designed for, a 7-minute timer, and like the level that I made took, I think, like 6.5 minutes, or like 5 to 6 minutes. Like, and that was pushing the timer back then. So yeah, it's a very different mentality. It's not so much that we're trying to like one-up ourselves, because it's not that. It's, first off, we want to show off as much as we can, and so we want to give level designers the freedom to make what they want to make. But secondly, we got a 2-hour estimate from GDQ, which we asked for because we wanted to feel like we didn't have to constrict ourselves too much to fit it all in. When you're submitting, like, here's my approach to someone that has never submitted a solo run. If you're running like a speed, like just a straight, start the clock, stop the clock, speed run, an estimate is like absolute worst case scenario. Like, you submit the time you would have reset, 10% into the run. Like, absolute disaster scenario. For us, to get a 2-hour window,
means that GDQ expects us to fill a 2-hour window, and we wanted to fill that entire 2-hour window as best we could. So part of that involves, you know, now that we have 3 hours, we have to, or 3 lives, how do we make the levels interesting, but also how do we make sure that we get as much out of this as we can? Any closing thoughts from the racers on Fire's level?
This is more of a general thing with a 3-life thing, but I think the 3-life format is also really good for the fact that it allows you to have a very quick death, like at the very start of the level, and not force everyone to like just rotate the chairs. Like, yeah, you might only get 2 attempts at the actual section, but like I know personally, like I screwed up like the first jump, like, or like the first input and died like a second in, and that not being like a super punishing thing is really nice.
I also want to mention something about like the estimate and the time and stuff like that. Like, it's understandable that we wanted to like get as much time out of it as possible. On the one hand, we want to like obviously to be on time and fulfill the estimate as good as we can, like without having a level take too long. But at the same time, we also don't want a level to be so short that we basically use up barely any time to show anything and stuff, so it goes by so quickly. Like, we want to show off stuff, but we also don't want to show too much stuff, kinda. If that makes sense.
No, it makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
And that's very, I mean, that's the approach we took. Like, and like as makers, that's a hard environment to try and make in, and one of the reasons why we're doing an extended release is so that we love these levels so much, we want to see like the full version of them. And so that's why we're doing an extended release, so that we can basically say, okay, no more stage restrictions, no more marathon safety. Let's see what these levels look like unabridged. And so that's what our idea is. And we are going to we want to keep time because we also want to give people a chance to race Ike's level here in about an hour and 10. So thank you, Fire, and thank you to everyone that helped tune Fleeting Footwork into what it is. Next up is Market Crash by Xiao Xiao, the level that I think everyone saw and immediately knew what it would be. But Fen, if you want to talk through this level and also maybe give a little insight into your own personal experience learning how to beat this level.
Yeah, so this level is a lot of fun. Let's go through. So the gimmick is, hey, you can jump again. That's cool. But you can't pick up shells. So if you kick the shell, you know, it's just there. However, when you get a coin, suddenly you're carrying a shell. And that's just the whole gimmick. So we're just going to go through here. La la la. Pretty, you know, basic shell stuff. Going through, getting this coin, bopping that, throwing that. And then we go up here, and then, oh, what's this? So during testing, this shell drop, where you drop the shell and then bump it, and then get a jump off, I had never done that trick before. This level taught me how to do this trick. So I'm still not fully consistent. We'll see how this goes, but...
As far as I know, I invented that trick.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, search for salmon, Jugama landing at the end. That was the first time. I mean, I don't know if an earlier example can be shown, but as far as I know, that I invented that one.
By the way, shout out to this. No one hit this in the race.
I was watching someone play this level, and there is that, and I didn't know about that until I saw someone playing it and went, wow, that's pretty mean.
Thank you for the checkpoint for that. I know it didn't matter, but thank you for the checkpoint.
That is certainly a Kaizo vlog.
It also, so yes, it triggers if you jump into it, but even meaner, yeah, it'll do that. Also, you can throw a shell into it and it'll go off. So if you're just standing on the ground and you throw the shell up facing left, you'll hit that hidden block. If you gotta kind of line it up right, but so I guess my biggest question for Glitch is, we wanted to have a shell level, but we also wanted to have a stage safe from a time perspective shell level, because we know that can be a lot of things for a lot of people. What was it like having a full-blown honest to goodness shell level as part of this relay?
Yeah, so that actually goes back to, you're talking about the 3 lives thing, and I can preface this by saying, like, I think that is a good system. I think that's a better system than switching every life, but the one trade-off for that is that you spend more time away from the controller, right? That every other player on your team is also doing 3 lives, so by the time you get back up there, you have less muscle memory. And shell levels in particular are a lot of really nuanced muscle memory for the exact positions and things. I think that, at least for me, that kind of held me back in this a little bit, and I do regret not nailing the backdrop when I had the chance. But otherwise, I mean, fine level, really good, responsible length. The backdrop at the end is really swaggy. I think it came off really well, and I thought it was fine for the race.
I still haven't seen anyone get this moon.
Yeah, so
I can't do mid-airs.
Yeah, this is, I mean, we were really happy because, like, we know it's been kind of tricky for Shao to find time to do everything, including make a level for the relay, so we were really grateful to work with Shao on this. And I can say, and we can move on from here, because this level's pretty much, it is what it looks like. There is a lot more coming in the extended release for this, and that's all I'll say.
Oh, I had one other thing about this level too. If you watch the relay back, I thought it was really kind of endearing that both teams immediately did a shell jump up into the 1 tile gap to hit the switch with their head before actually realizing that the shell was to be thrown up there. Thought that was really endearing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's really cool to see how both teams play it out as they go. Okay. Next level. There is... First off, Kel, if you could grab the link to D's Reddit AMA and our speedrun. We could take so much time here just talking about the technical aspect of it, but D did an AMA on our speedrun after the relay was over and was able to get much more in depth with a lot of the technical stuff. So we'll give this a playthrough. I also have a quick little story. That speech that Dan gave before the level started, we weren't sure he was going to be able to do that. We were prepared for me to read that speech, and then the producer kind of pulled me aside and said, "Can you make sure Dan sits front and center? Because we're going to have him come up. You're going to hand him your headset, and he's going to say what he wants to say."
I was kind of surprised that he was up there. I was like, wait a minute. Like, are they cool with this? Like, someone from the audience I didn't know you had planned that out. I mean, obviously I couldn't know that, but I was just like, are they like going to be cool with like someone from the audience just like coming up and saying something? But yeah, I didn't realize that was. But I am really glad we managed to hear a little bit of that. Like, I think you can see me turn to fail and be like, it's score, just go for low score, because that was kind of tough to hear from our perspective.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was also worried about, like, oh, is this allowed on a GDQ stage or anything like that? But that's awesome that GDQ is just like, yeah, let him cook.
Oh,
just do it.
I'll also say that Dan had written that out word for word, and shot it to me in a DM, and I had, because. Just a little inside baseball. If you plan on doing extended intros or extended outros for your run, the GDQ staff just wants to see it so that they're not caught off guard by you starting to go into a monologue. So Dan had written that up, and I had shown it to GDQ staff, and they're like, "Oh, this is fine. Yeah, if you want to say this, or if we get Dan to do it." Dan read that and did that speech from memory, literally word for word as it was written in the DM that he sent me.
From memory?
From memory.
Oh my god.
Yes.
That's wild. That's so cool.
Literally every word. So, just as a, we can start it, and then I'm gonna just turn it over to Dee and let Dee say whatever she wants to say about it. I will say, there have been I only know of 4 people that have done this hit list. Fane is one of them. Shoujo's one of them. Wolsk is the third one, and not in this order, but Dan himself got a hit list run of this at GDQ. Those are the only 4 I know for a fact have done it hit lists. I'm sure there's more. But Fen, if you want to get this started, Dee, I'm just going to give you the floor and let you talk about whatever you want.
Shoutouts, bloody tears.
Got them bloody tears.
I didn't notice until after the race that Mario is actually smaller in this level.
Oh, baby Mario.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that at the time.
If you're trying to speak, D, I saw you went off mute, but you haven't been speaking.
I actually remember Dee saying that this mini mushroom, or the mini Mario thing, came from the power. Like part of it came from the power up, the LX5 power up pack. Like at least the graphics for it came from that.
Hello?
Hey, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah, that's weird. For some reason, I had to refresh Discord. But yeah, I was trying to say, we started this back in SGDQ 2023 at the event. I asked Dan if he had any interest in working on an SMW level with me, and he said, well, could we do I want to be the guy in Voidance in Super Mario World? And my answer was basically, no, but let me see what I can do. And yeah, that's when I started working on the code to make this possible.
Again, I can't recommend enough. Dee goes into a lot of detail in the AMA about how she basically ripped MSU in half and put it back together again to stream video.
Yeah.
I have a question, actually. I have a question for Dee and other producers. What, is this going to be a thing now? Like, now that we have this ability, now, Dee, that you created this ability, basically, if I'm understanding it correctly, to stream video from MSU1 and do stuff with it. Are we gonna see more of that? Are people gonna be able to make more stuff like this? Are we gonna see more Avoidance Mario World levels like this?
Honestly, I'm torn between I hope so and being terrified of what that's going to mean. But Carl Sagan himself has expressed interest in doing a troll level in it, so...
And to kind of give everyone a sense of what's happening, this is based on color, right?
Yeah, so basically this is essentially a 3-color video, and each color is in a specific palette slot. One of the palette entries hurts you, one is platforms, and one is just decoration, and everything is powered entirely off of that. It's looking up the pixels in the video. There are no actual blocks or sprites or any objects in the level at all.
I have another question for fellow racers, because I remember we were at dinner and I was like, Dee, I have an idea about what this might be. My idea was totally wrong, but I didn't want to ask any questions because I didn't want to see your reaction and see what was up.
Real quick, can we just point out that Fane just did that hit list?
Yeah, I was gonna say, congrats on doing that hit list again.
Easy every time.
Yep, free, practically free.
Literally free.
But my question, I guess, for Java and Mark, what did you think it was going to be? Because I don't know why, and I'll tell you what I thought, and I don't know why, because they were hyping it up, and they were just and obviously, well earned. But this is gonna shatter reality. It's gonna be the most incredible thing you've ever seen. I thought somehow you turned it into Mario 64, and I have no idea why I thought that. But that was like, okay, it's gonna turn into like a 64, like Mario 64, and we're gonna do like Kaizo in Mario 64. What did you think it was going to be?
I'll start. So there's two answers, which are for specifically D4 and Dan Salvato's level itself. I actually don't know if I had a set expectation, because I kind of just knew that those two would craft up something so ridiculous that I was like, I just, whatever I would even try to think of, it probably was going to be incorrect on. So I walked into this going like, I know they're going to make something ridiculous, but I think I thought of more traditional level construction, not I want to be the guy in SMW. But the second part is we were also kind of notified that level 4 would not be lives. It would be, we would all just kind of rotate. And my fear was immediately that one of the designers made a only up level that we all had to basically like complete a section of. So that goes, so those are kind of my two answers is, when I heard level 4 was going to be something, as soon as I saw that it was D4 and Dan Salvato, I knew it wasn't that, but I had no clue. And I was certainly not expecting this. That is for certain.
Yeah, I also was kind of expecting like getting over it, only up style thing. That was one of the things that was in my mind. The other thing was it being a bullet hell of some kind. Also, I just want to point out that I was not reading the quiz and I just instinctively went to 69 exits. Anyway.
Perfect.
That was
So good
entirely
on me.
that was all Panga. So that
Yeah,
originally
I
was-
heard that after the fact.
So fun fact about the quiz, that was originally the answer was originally 64, and then Panga saw it in the practice room and was like, no, that should be 69.
Well, he's the reason I screwed that up. But anyway, yeah, I was thinking bullet hell in part because of the Toho recommendation. And I mean, this is kind of a bullet hell, like
In a way.
in a way. So I was expecting more something along the lines of, because I thought you all had also mentioned it was SA1 at some point. I don't know if I'm just making that up or misremembering, but excuse me. I was thinking, okay, well, I know SNES hardware limits. At least, maybe not on the MSU side, but I know SNES hardware limits, and I know that D4 will break those as best as she can. So I was like, yeah, it'll be a bullet hell, and hopefully Kaizo 3 Bowser practice paid off.
There were worse things you could have practiced.
Yes, there were.
Again, we could talk about this level for a very long time. Go read D4's AMA. Everything you want to know about that is probably there.
Okay, I was gonna field a quick question from chat, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a question about like how much of the original SMW code is running here. So yeah, all layer interactions and block interactions are turned off. All sprite code is turned off, and the physics is technically still the SMW physics code. Something that I think I haven't heard anybody pick up on is that it's actually not the original SMW physics. The physics are running at 62.5% rate. And the Mario sprite is, of course, scaled down to make the space feel bigger, even though it's a constrained area. It's effectively a much bigger space to move around in because all the physics were scaled down to like 5/8 rate.
It honestly felt so similar that I didn't notice.
Yeah, same.
Also, there were bigger things on my mind, like streaming video to a Super Nintendo, and not, oh, this is 5/8 the physics. That just didn't even cross my mind.
Totally normal level. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, perfectly normal. Just
True, actually.
common D4 level. Max asking in chat, will SMW Central now allow hacks that require MSU1 data streaming to play? We'll get back to you on that. We're still working on the extended release, as we said. Part of what we want to do is we want to submit this to SMW Central for a variety of reasons. We're still working on that. We're going to work with Alex, who is, yes, the head of the hack section for SMW Central, also a level maker here for this hack. So we want to do it right by SMW Central. No, we're not going to host the MSU1 data on SMW Central itself. We're still working out the best way we're going to do that, but that will come when the extended release is ready at a time to be determined in the future.
When I have time.
Time and
Just say soon TM and leave it at that.
it will happen
Yeah,
before it will happen before Dram 3.
It'll happen before, yeah.
All right, Blagon's level. So this is a there's no way to not have a hairpin left after D4 and Dan's level, but Blagon's level was very much a hairpin left. Bane, if you want to kick this one off.
Sounds good. So the gimmick here is that when you're in the air, you gain a power-up state, and when you land, you lose a power-up state. Something like that.
This intro trick, I can't tell you how many testers were like, what the heck do we do here?
It's such a hard trick. It's like the hardest trick in the level, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is probably the brainiest level of them all, in terms of just having to kind of figure out how you work with things. Maybe it was just like the iframes, but this was, I think, the toughest one to figure out. Again, not that that's a bad thing, just that it was.
Yeah, no, this was the one where we were like, well, we have 4 people all coordinating, so hopefully that's good enough. Y'all rocked it though. There's some hard stuff like that Rex turn. I think like only a quarter of the testers knew how that worked. This disco shell was hard.
Yeah,
and then this is my favorite trick in the whole thing.
This is so good.
Get big.
Timing that over the ground. And there's no troll in that room. Like, that ending orb room, yeah, that's just a straight jump up and grab it. So, yeah, there's nothing there that can kill you.
Also, wasn't Blah like the last creator to join into this?
Yeah, we can, so, without, like, getting into any of the, like, specifics for it, Blagon only joined and, like, contributed this level in, I want to say, like, March or April, much later than every other creator. So, huge shout out to Blagon for coming in midstream and pulling this level out for everyone to check out. So, I'm not saying they had this waiting, but this is something that they've had cooking for not as long as all the other makers, but definitely gave the testers something to chew on. So, like,
Yeah.
so like from y'all's perspective, how is this experience for the racers as sort of like okay, this is a team effort kind of level to figure out?
I was actually just about to jump into that, which is this was definitely the level that I think this was the moment where execution definitely was very required, but a lot of it was just figuring things out. And my comment from Fire's level I think stands really true here, where, and what Glitch said, this was the most thinky level, and we really, if we didn't collaborate on a lot of stuff, I think we would have had a very, very tough time on this level, because it is, you have to know a lot of very obscure vanilla SMW items, and I wouldn't blame anyone for not really noticing or knowing that stuff. It was tough. This was a butt kicker of a level, I gotta say. This was one that even going back and replaying, it's a tough one. I guess beyond that, I don't have way too many more comments. It was a wonderful level,
sure.
like, you know,
Well-
just very, very, you know, very team oriented for sure. Definitely required that team energy.
What was it like on your side of the stage, Mark?
Well, for starters, I'm glad I fluked the Rex jump. I didn't really parse or understand it until, like, I think after I had seen my teammates go through it a couple times and realized, like, oh, like, that's what you're supposed to do. Even though I got it, I just didn't understand what I was doing. I also, like, I'm looking back at, like, that section, like, right before the checkpoint, and I don't know why, I was just, like, completely forgetting, like, yeah, I need to not be spinning there. But I think this level especially, like, having all four of us throwing out ideas, or fluking ideas, in my case, like, having all four of us there made it so much better. Like, like, the mechanic, this is in the second half, but with the 5 turn blocks, and you need to hit all 5 to reset the first one so that you get a shell bounce or something like that. Like, that was a mechanic, like, I knew about it, I didn't think about it. I completely forgot it was a thing until I heard, I forget who, but one of them yelled out, like, oh, hit all the blocks to reset it or something like that. I was like, oh my god, like, I can't believe I forgot that was a mechanic. And then the ending section, which I screwed up, but Shoujo, I remember, called out, like, oh, you need to wait for the fuzzy to cross before you can do anything. And I just see now Beast doing the same screw up I did. Like, having, like, that, like, I think our team communication for this level, like, this was one of our peaks, I think, for communication, was being able to get through this and collaborating, like, our ideas and execution. And I just completely not understanding how to do the ending. But anyway, yeah.
There was one moment I wanted to point out for our side. There was one moment where I think it was me. I got SMW'd a little bit because I took damage right when the kicking Koopa was on the far left of the platform. There, it just happened on the video,
Yeah.
and it caused the kicking Koopa to just fall off the edge of the platform because of that one glitch. Also, taking damage to turn the Rex around was trickier to figure out than it seems in retrospect.
Yeah, shout out to SMW. Sometimes we don't even put it in there, but that Rex jump in particular, I will say, that Rex jump, people had opinions about that Rex jump. Those coins used to not be there.
I'm very glad the coins are there. Even if I didn't realize they were there my first attempt, they were super necessary.
Just to keep things moving, let's move on to Maddie and Margot's level, Soulbound Shell. If Light and Sayla were the first people to get their level in, Maddie and Margot were the second. And by and large, I think their level had the least amount of changes from day one to race.
Very notable changes, though, which we'll point out.
Yes. So, Fane, you want to talk us through it?
Sure. I'm just gonna start us up. So, this room's actually a lot harder than it looks. The gimmick is that you can press L to kick the shell left, or R to kick the shell right. If you kick it right, it just kind of gets stuck there, and you're gonna have an issue. So, you just kind of go through. So it's still really hard. A little bit of SMW there where it kicks it through. This might be the hardest room, the hardest like single thing you have to do in this level, I think. Oh my goodness.
You know,
I promise I'm not sandbagging.
No, what's funny is I don't know how I did it, but then like I got here, I was like, oh, I know what to do, and like immediately just on my first life one-shotted and chuckled at that and didn't realize how hard it was until I came back and played it. I was like, oh, this was really tough. I don't know why I got magic and just played through it, but that first room was super tough. Honestly, like very Maddie Margot level. You can tell which parts are Maddie and which parts are Margot, and they just kind of know how to make elegance through simplicity, and I really respect them for that.
Speaking of being able to figure out which part is Maddie and which part is Margot, let's talk about this pipe.
Oh yeah, we can already guess who made that.
Yeah. Oh, I can't hit the. So, spoiler, there's a Kaizo block there. Guess who put that there? There.
Was that hit during the relay?
Yes, it was by the other by the.
Oh, it definitely. I definitely recall hitting it.
Okay.
I think I hit it twice. Yeah, no, I was trying to dodge it, and like, this level I did pretty good on. That Kaizo block is mean.
Okay.
Just wait. Yeah. Other than that, this was. Basically, there's one other thing to talk about here, and Fen will bring it up when they get there. But yeah, just huge shout out to Maddie and Margot for being part of this again. Yeah, the team that was behind hit the Kaizo block to keep them behind. It's kind of unfair. But
yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about talk about this. Let's talk about. Wait for it. This pipe right here.
So you may notice that there's some clouds here. You can thank Margot for those, which makes it not just a full-on up pipe. You may also notice that there wasn't a Kaizo block on either side. You can thank everyone, I think.
Everyone except Maddie.
On the left side, except for Maddie, yes. So we kept hitting that in testing, and it kept really being frustrating. We're like, you know what? We don't want this to be that frustrating on stage. If you get to that far, just give it to them. And of course, this hint was wonderful.
Shout out to Shoujo for immediately nailing this hint.
Yeah, Shoujo called it like instantly. It was so fast.
There we go. Racers, any other thoughts on this one?
This was definitely the level I performed the worst at. I could not wrap my head around the mechanic besides room 1. I don't know why that was the case. I was just having the biggest brain fart for that entire level. I think also part of it, but also like Shoujo one-shot like several of the sections. Like just immediately, and my immediate thought was thank you, but also I'm glad I don't have to do that because I could not parse this for the life of me. So when she would just one shot a section, it's like, all right, great, I don't have to worry about it.
It definitely helped to play a game before that was very similar to this.
Yeah, I made the comment.
Absolutely.
I made the comment. It's almost like she's been playing a lot of hacks by Maddie and Margot lately.
Yeah. I played Sure Shot for practice, and that was about it.
Let's move on to Alex and Pyro's level, because Alex and Pyro's level was, I think I can speak for Fen in this, the one we were most scared about in terms of stage.
Yeah.
Fen, if you want to kick this one up.
Sure. So first off, this room used to not be this room. It used to be a really difficult shell jump, but now it's just kind of showing off what the mechanic is. This trick right here took me a very long time, that shell jump, figuring out where I wanted to up toss to make that work. But yeah, like everything about this level is just cycle timing and figuring out what is your route through. And it's very standard inspired. Alex and Snowrun Pyro snuck some standard into our Kaizo.
Everyone thought we told people to play the Toho hack because of D and Dan's level. No, it was because of this. We didn't want to just say cycle timing, and it's funny because Shoujo was playing Markalarm's Race World Peace Tribute level in the practice room, and we were like, oh, this would have been perfect for testing because this is basically that level. So, Mark, you kind of took a bit of an ego bruise on this one, I think, not unintentionally.
Yeah, a little bit. And to answer the question about me battling my own coding, I'm happy with how I battled my own coding. You know, I got like one of the checkpoints. I almost got this one, and I could not parse that like the 2 yellow shells in that little column there. I don't know why I couldn't, but I mean, I thought it was really cool to like be on stage and having played something that I know that I contribute greatly to, even though I didn't make the level. Like this resource, like, was something that I poured a lot of time into, like, to make good. And like I just thought it was awesome to see something like that, just like playing against it, so to speak, and to do well against it. It's not like I made something and then I got my butt kicked by it. So it's like, oh, like this imposter's up here, like making something that he doesn't know how to deal with. But nah, I played well. We didn't win that level, but I'm still very happy with how we played.
Duz was convinced at the end that those bullets were fake. They're not fake. They're very real.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah, there is a visual cue that I used to get through that. It's not too bad. But on first seeing it, I was shocked to see the one shot on that, frankly.
There's a shoutouts to the waterfalls in that level.
Yeah,
running with special HDMI effects.
Yeah, Circle had to drop out of the call, but when we shouted out Circle Friendo on stage, it was for a very big reason. It's because the HDMI in Alex and Pyro's level needed to make those waterfalls look as freaking good as they do. Y'all, Circle Friendo helped out so much with that. So huge thank you, Circle Friendo, for really like low-key making something significantly like very complicated but very beautiful. Yeah, we all made this, but Circle Friendo specifically made that part of it. So
Absolutely.
big shout out to Circle Friendo for helping make that look as good as it did.
Yeah, also big shout outs to Circle Friendo for just in general helping with things, fixing bugs, doing some of the things that I was going to have to do. Huge help.
Yeah,
a lot of optimizing as well.
Lots of sprite optimization.
Sprite optimization.
When I think I messaged Circle Friendo in like May, I forget when it was exactly, but I was like, "Hey, do you have a second to like help out with just a few things with the relay hack?" And she was like, "Sure, yeah." I don't think either of us realized what that would turn into. But it was okay. It was like 1 month out, so it wasn't even that. But speaking of sprite optimization, it's time for track 8. And so, Fen, you can go ahead and get this started. But Hiro, let's talk about Laura the Pokey for a second.
Sure. I think this is a pretty divisive level, first and foremost, because I have seen people very like this level, and I have seen people not really were happy about it. Let's put it that way. This is White Rescue, a level that is basically evolving around a partner mechanic and a hostage rescue mechanic. There are lots of chocolate stuff and a lot of stuff going on that you normally don't see in SMW, and that is a big reason why it's so divisive, is because people are getting dragged out of their comfort zone with this, and yeah, it's something they're not familiar with, and that's usually the problem that comes with when you do so much chocolate stuff. But I'm known for doing a lot of chocolate stuff. If I go out in style, and this is how it basically went. It is very confusing for some people to look at this and try to parse what's going on. So, to make it short, you basically have the ability to call for summon a Pokey, and this Pokey has the ability to reflect things with its body, with her body.
All right, real quick, Glitch. I don't mean to cut you off, but we need to talk to Glitch about Mole Mountain here.
I have climbed the Mole Mountain. You know, okay, so
I'm
like-
so happy that Mole Mountain was so good in the actual thing.
I was happy because, you know, I got there and it was the first time, I think that was the first time anybody had been to that section. And I'm like, okay, like I see you gotta get the mole up the mountain, etc. And, you know, I'm looking around in the level and I'm trying to figure out what is going to kill me, right? Where is the hole that the mole is gonna fall into if I screw up the movement? Where is the fireball that's gonna shoot at me from the ceiling? And after like 5 minutes or whatever, it felt like 100 minutes, but I just kind of like, oh, nothing is going to kill me. And all I have to do is not jump into the ceiling spikes, which I was like almost about to do for some reason I can't determine. But I was happy that nothing actually came to kill me there, and that made that a lot more fun, I think.
Yeah, I feel like one of the big problems this level has is that it's very punishing in a lot of sections. With a gimmick you have never seen before, on top of that, with new things you have never seen or interacted with, on top of it, it's multiple stuff that is being layered on top of each other, which slowly increases the difficulty of this. It's not necessarily the sections themselves being difficult, it's difficult to figure out what your abilities are, what your options are, what certain things do, what the interactions are, what they're going to do, what's your objective with that. And in general, like, figuring stuff out like this can be a challenge in itself, and this level I think proves it, that if you're getting thrown into cold water in unknown territory, then yeah, then it's usually like a tough task to like beat the stage and do the thing correctly. Like, there's so much that goes into this. It's not only like, how do I do this thing? It's like, what does this thing do? That's also a question of that. So yeah, what I wanted to say before, like, that is like, you have like a partner gimmick where you can reflect stuff with, and originally when this idea was about to conceptualize, when I was talking to Why Not, we had like a little trade-off what we are going to do and what we wanted to make for this level. So Why Not's idea was like to have something track with the horizontal and vertical positions maybe, and my idea was to bring back a partner mechanic from the get-go, similar to the one that you will see in Super Birthday World 2. One of our birthday hacks that we made for Just, which had a level with a partner as well in it. Fun fact, none of that code from that game was used. This is completely new made for this, because the code from For Birthday World wasn't SA1 compatible, so I would have to convert it. This was my first time also working with SA1 in depth, so that was scary too, because most of the stuff that you see here has been either Frankenstein together or coded new or put together by me or by Why Not. Like, Why Not was responsible for the spawning code and the icon that you see when you want to place the partner, and every other like object, like those falling platforms and stuff, the fireballs, the cannons, they are like modified or constructed by me from resources that were available. Like, there was so much going on with the process of this. I will probably not be able to talk about everything in the time span, because it would be way too much to talk. To give you an idea about like how crazy some of the stuff is, those launchers that you see are actually keys. Yes, they have the ability that you can carry them even, that you can enable and stuff. There were like versions that are diagonally, which you don't see, and shoot diagonal bullets. There were platforms that were like
Don't give away the whole
don't
give away the whole extended cut just now.
It's not all extended cut though. Like, there were actually objects that are never being used that I made that never even got used in the extended cut, which is nuts, because how this level basically started was I made all the objects before I actually designed anything of the level, and I did this in hopes for like, I have all these objects and now I'm gonna toss them in here and ask why not. Here, have some toys, make a level with it if you want to. And he did make a room, which I have to sadly admit hasn't made it into the race version. So all the rooms that you see here are my rooms, which is why they feel more standard than Kaizo at places.
That room is coming. Don't
That
you all
room
worry.
is in the extended cut.
That room is coming.
So that will appear.
Java,
And yeah.
Java, real quick, because we're running up on time before getting ready for the race. You mentioned in chat that you love this level. Can you just talk a little bit about why you love this level so much?
Oh yeah, no. So, this is a unique. I think the reason for me is I think a lot of the levels really incorporated a lot of shell, and I think I really enjoy shell. But I think this was very much a different mechanic that to me was very unique and very like you just had to work with it, and it was just you had to work with a pokey. You had to learn how to make it work, and you had to just kind of go with the flow of it. And there was something about the level that I think really lent itself to being what is it? It lent itself to being very like it had a good flow when you knew how to use the mechanic. You did have to know how to use the mechanic, but it had a really good flow when you knew how to use the mechanic. And so I think a lot of times, like, I went back and replayed this level and it was like, oh, this level is just really fun because I know how to use this mechanic and it's amazing. And I think, knowing how to build a level around this mechanic, I think was just it could go so many different ways. And I think y'all did an amazing job with that. So that's why I would say I really love this level.
Yeah, it's actually kind of wild. There's so much about this level that I could talk about, like different concepts or ideas that I had. Like originally, I did make the hostage system because I wanted the rooms to be non-linear, and wanted you to like figure routes out which ones to rescue first. There's like a room in the extended cut that's kind of like that was supposed to be put into something else, which Aizo got later, not into the race. I'm not gonna say much about that at the moment, but there's Aizo there were like Wynot's room is very interesting because it does a lot of stuff that I haven't done, which is Aizo interesting. It's Aizo a room that one I can say it's Aizo a room that has a midway in it. So there's a hostage system and a midway in it. So that's interesting.
Y'all aren't ready. I'm just going to say that now. Y'all aren't ready.
And to give you a rough idea how the testing and adjusting and difficulty stuff has been going on, we have a testing and feedback channel. Generally, people have around hundreds messages or something in those. Our level has 441 messages in the playtesting channel, so tells you a lot about the changes and balancing that needed to be done to have this, in the race format. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It was quite a difficult process.
Yeah, so I also want to real quick shout out Melon Pizza, who did a lot of optimization to make this level run as well as it does on a console, because we had a lot of console issues with lag, and Melon Pizza is just like, here's updated code. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Bane, if you want to go ahead and start the credits while we wrap up, so that we can kind of see that. So
very short.
Yeah, go for it.
I have seen somebody who has said you could make an entire ROM hack with that. The idea, I put this into the room. If Why Not wants to make it, he can come at me, and we are making a actual full ROM hack with that idea. Alternatively, I also have on the back burner the idea of a partner ROM hack, which uses multiple partners. So So Magia, if you have seen the level in Birth War 2, that is one of the partners I want to bring back for that, as well as Lara would be probably one of them as well. So yeah, that's how it is with those.
I'll want to step in and say, be careful about the, you could make a whole hack out of this thing. So just tread that water carefully is what I'll say.
Speaking as someone with experience in saying that out loud at one point in your life. Real quick, so as we're wrapping up, because we do want to get ready and let people get ready for the race. I know there's one last thing Fen wants to show off, but while we're getting to the end of the credits, does anyone have any last words they want to share? Because I think I said everything I could possibly say on the couch.
So
I have. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Hiro.
Okay, I guess I start. Okay, so I have said like a lot of times that I could talk about my level so much more and stuff like that, but couldn't because of the time. I actually haven't asked me anything on my Twitter that is running, but I also posted that in various different Discords as well. So if you have questions about my level, you can always ask me, and I will be glad to answer anything that comes my way. And again, thank you so much, guys, for having me for this, because it was pretty much a big honor to like deliver a level for this, especially as somebody who isn't really that good at Kaizo and makes levels that feel more standard than Kaizo. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, there's one, because this is me, there is one small thing that I'm going to show off while y'all continue.
I can go ahead. I think and we chatted a little bit about this at the marathon, but if I recall correctly, do we want to, and this is maybe something for people to get excited about for the future, do we want to do like a reprise of the race when the extended director's cut comes out, either as like team where we're not like swapping controllers, but like the four of us are a team and our wins count collectively, or just let everybody kind of in on it? Do we want to do like a race of the director's cut as a debut? Because I think that would be pretty cool.
Could. I don't know when that will necessarily be. But I think in general, just keep your eyes and ears open, because really, like, a lot of it comes down to how much we are able to recuperate and get back to working on this in terms of putting everything together. There's also one other thing that's going to be in the extended release that we haven't mentioned yet, which is an entire new level that was not in any of the race stuff. That is all I'm going to say about that right now. But yeah, there's a lot that's going in here. We wanted to show these levels as much as we could. So that's why we put as much in as we did. Ben, D, did you have any closing remarks you wanted to share?
It's been a huge honor to be a part of this, to help lead. This was truly a massive group effort from a lot of people. And just to be able to be a part of this and to raise the money that we did and to give people the experience that we did to work with GDQ. I've been saying that GDQ week was the best week of my life, and I don't say that lightly. So just thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to do this.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we are going to carry as a huge, whatever legacy a person can have in Mario hacking. This is ours, and that's something that we're very proud of. That is, I think, all the time. There's one person that couldn't be here tonight that I really do want to give a shout out to, and that's Fawful. Fawful had obligations that kept them from being here on the call, but Fawful was at the table with us on day one to help plan all this stuff out, and also compose the original music that you heard in the credits level. That is a true Fawful original with live live instruments. That's something you can do on MSU1 is actually use live instrument recording as part of your song. So Fawful, huge thank you for everything you did as part of this. This was, as Finn said, a true team effort. But with that, and kind of on this as a very apt closing screen, we're going to shift gears because we do have a race tonight, and it is going to be a very, very good race. Ike's level is coming up in about 18 minutes and plus, so we're going to go offline. We're going to push some buttons and move some stuff around, and we'll be right back fairly soon with the pre-show. So don't go too far because we still have a race. Oh, I should probably mention next week, Romac Races 300 is next week, y'all. If you haven't heard who's making that level, it's actually going to be a joint level because, of course, it is. Celicrete, Mars Ampere, and Solve4X. That's all I'll say. That is who's making our level for week 300 next week. So see you in about 20 minutes or so for race number 299.
Does that mean I'm too late?
Oh, no. Hi, Fawful.
Hello. I'm sorry. I've been running late all day today.
Yeah,
glad I managed to catch the tail end.
Yeah, no, we're glad. We're really glad you could at least be part of this. But yeah, we are going to move some stuff around. I'm going to pass off to Finn, who's going to restream the race for us, and we'll see you back here in just a few minutes, y'all. But thanks for stopping by for this recap. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up on Discord or on our various social medias as we've thrown them out. But yeah, we'll see you in a few minutes for race number 299. Take care, everyone.